Good evening, everybody. We'll get started in just a minute here. I think once we have we're streaming this as well, so.
Okay, Mikey, we're good.
We're good? Where's the mic?
Oh, it's at the podium, sorry.
Is that it's on? So you also want to kill the music outside? No, the music outside. We did a sound check. We're okay. All right. Good. Okay. And clicker here. Good. Yeah. Yep. All right. Good evening. My name is Mohammed Mekki, and I'm one of the partners here at AstroLabs. So thanks for joining us on today's program, which is about how to set up in Saudi, talking a bit about the Saudi market, about AstroLabs and what we do there, the potential in Saudi, and answering any questions that you might have. With me here today is Mustafa Nabilsi, who's our country director for Saudi Arabia, and he'll be joining us for this discussion, as well as Daniel Bateman, who's heading up the product actually to help companies set up in Saudi. So we have the team of the three of us who are quite involved in this to be able to answer all of your questions and tell you more about what AstroLabs does to help companies set up. So to start off with, I just want to give you a little bit of context for those of you who don't know as much about the breadth of what AstroLabs does. AstroLabs is actually a platform on a mission to really build out the digital ecosystem here in the MENA region. A lot of people know us through our spaces and the physical spaces like where you are today, which is one of our co-working spaces. But we have a network of these spaces across between Dubai and Riyadh. But that's only actually one part of what we do. We're a capability building organization where we run a bunch of different training programs and these types of meetups on a variety of different topics. We work with some of the largest brands here in the region, mostly in the UAE and Saudi and the Gulf, on upskilling and training their teams, such as large banks like Emirates NBD, and we work with Shell Hoob Group and with UPS on programs to connect them with startups and technology companies to accelerate their digital transformations. So that's the kind of like building digital capabilities. And then we help companies establish themselves actually in the UAE and in Saudi Arabia. So we've helped hundreds of companies get set up actually. Here in Dubai, currently we have over 100 companies that are based between our two spaces. In Saudi, we have several dozen, and that's been quickly growing. And in Saudi, we've helped over 50 companies now set up and establish themselves with 100% foreign-owned entities in Saudi Arabia under the new regulations and such that we'll tell you more about shortly. So that's a bit about us. We've been active in Saudi since AstroLabs started, which was in 2013. So we've actually been doing a lot of different training programs and work in Saudi, so building up our networks there. And we've been kind of ready to go to be able to enter in and establish AstroLabs. And we're just waiting for the regulations and the timing and everything to line up, which has been the case as many of you know, the changes that have been happening in Saudi most recently. We're kind of like ready at the gates to be able to enter in and establish our office in Riyadh, and then this product as well, which Mustafa will hand off to will tell you a lot more about exactly what it is that we do in Saudi and how to go about kind of establishing or expanding a company over to Saudi. So I'll hand off to him to first talk about the market opportunity itself and then jump into the specifics. There you go.
Hi everyone, and thanks for coming today. We're excited to share with you some of the updates and information regarding how to set up and expand your business to Saudi Arabia. Let me start with initiating why is it an exciting and amazing times now for businesses to expand to Saudi. So there are reasons that have been always there, which is Saudi being the largest economy or market in the region, the population, the purchase power, and all of that, the technology penetration in the country. But there are exciting new conditions that are happening to encourage businesses to set up there. First, 4 reasons. First, the transformation happening in Saudi, opening up new sectors in terms of tourism, entertainment, media, and so on. So these fields and business lines were not actually present in a few years back. The second reason is that the push from the government for entrepreneurial businesses, creative businesses, technology businesses to come to the country and also participate in the innovation ecosystem in general. The third reason is the openness of the government for international businesses to set up in Saudi. They have made it much easier compared to 5 or 6 years ago to set up and to have your 100% ownership entity in Saudi Arabia. And then finally, basically the expedited process in terms of getting all the other kind of setup and procedures happening that will make you operational as a business in a much shorter time. So these are some statistics about Saudi market in general. They're also moving highly towards non-oil, and they're trying to diversify their economy in Saudi. So this is a huge opportunity also for international businesses to come. Given that this is the state of the market and how lucrative it is to be there, why would you choose AstroLabs as your partner in this journey? There are many reasons. One of them is, as Makki mentioned, we pushed to be one of the first international incubators in the country, and we signed an agreement or an understanding with the SAGIA, which is the investment authority in Saudi Arabia. The SAGIA is the authority that controls the setup process for non-Saudi businesses or international businesses. As mentioned, we helped more than 50 companies get their license, set up, and be operational. We provide end-to-end solution, and this is very important. You don't want to go to Saudi and just have the license. There is much more into that. You need all the other bits and pieces of the process, understanding the regulations, getting the right documents at the right time for the right entities. In addition to this, we also provide side benefits or a full soft landing package. This includes a place to work. This includes connection to different partners and service providers. This includes also connection to the government agencies. Even after you finish the setup with us, you can carry on and continue utilizing these services. These are some of the names that we worked with over the last year or so. We had different companies, and they wanted to have an expedited process and a trusted partner, and they chose AstroLabs. This is when we signed with SAGIA the agreement with them. And this is more details on what's included in the soft landing package and why is it important to not just have the license, to have the full kind of support system around it in terms of the working space, in terms of utilizing the current members of AstroLabs and working with them in terms of utilizing our network in Saudi Arabia in terms of investors, partners, government entities, and so on. Setting up in Saudi or expanding your business to Saudi through Sagia will grant you 100% ownership, so you don't need a local partner. It's very flexible. You can operate anywhere in the kingdom. There's no free zone restrictions. Through AstroLabs, you can get the license in a very expedited matters in about 2 weeks. There is no minimum capital requirements, which is something that changed recently in the government. And basically, you will have the greatest advantage of all of this. You will be a preferred vendor for most of the government and big corporate contracts in Saudi. There's a trend now, they will push for local established entities rather than bringing an international company. High level guidelines. Of course, we have more details on what goes into requirements and documents, but the main requirement is that you have an outside company or an international company with more than 12 months of operation, because the biggest or the most important requirements in the setup is to have a financial statement for 12 months. That's the main requirement. The easiest activities, or let's say the most straightforward activities to set up in Saudi, is technology, management consulting, media, and event management. We're open to other activities. We're just saying these are the ones that kind of are the norms and they go smoothly and quickly. We definitely can help with manufacturing license, we can help with construction license, all of that, but we're just talking about the most common ones. Two highlighted cases in terms of complexity, in terms of time to serve and all of that. Bayut, which is a multi-international company for real estate technology. They wanted to get into the Saudi market quickly and they have big expansion plans. They chose AstroLabs to work from them end to end, from the day they got their Sagia license all the way to getting actually the residency of the general manager and getting an established office and a team and started hiring. The amazing thing about this was kind of the end-to-end process. We tried to make it as fast as possible and as hassle-free as possible, because one thing we're special, or we add value, is that we tailor our support to each case. They had several issues that not really common, and we used our kind of knowledge in the market, experience, and so on to fix these issues for them. Another example is Checkout. The it's a company out of UK valued at around $2 billion, and they wanted the help of AstroLabs to expedite the process of their general manager residency. And in fact, we pushed all the way possible, and we got them the residency in 1 day. And because we had a very we understand the process, we went through it, and we just executed it very efficiently. These are some of the testimonials of the companies: Global Think Group, August and Platinum List, and also we have, as I said, more than 50 companies we help set up. We have also currently on the pipeline more than 15 we're working with currently to help them set up and do their business expansion. We can share later on more details about the process, but the high-level process, if I want to give you a quick view, is that you get your Sagia license, you get your commercial registration in the country, and you get your Chamber of Commerce registration. Once you finish this, you move on to the next level, which is registering with all the government agencies related to your business, Ministry of Labor, Social Insurance, Zakat and Taxation, and so on and so forth. And then you start the process of getting your general manager residency in Saudi Arabia. Of course, there are more to it than this high level, but just wanted to give you kind of an idea about the flow and how things will work when you think about the setup. As I mentioned, the key three things are the financial statements, the commercial registration of the mother company, and the article of association of the mother company to kick off this whole kind of tree of steps and processes. We'll have our contact if you have any questions about the kind of breakdown or the process or the requirement paper, or these are the kind of breakdown of this. This is the breakdown of the steps that we go through, and we provide. It's a very flexible plan, so you can choose at which part of the process you want to do with AstroLabs, at which part you want to do yourself. We made it quite flexible. Yes. Lastly, before opening up for questions, few things to keep in mind when you think about setting up in Saudi. Saudization applies to you as a local company. So basically, in Saudi there's something called nitaqat system, and you have to maintain a certain percentage of Saudi employees within your organization. There is a 20% on net profit for the company, for the Saudi entity, and obviously in Saudi, if you deal with Saudi local businesses, there's 5% VAT, and the renewal fee for SAGIA license is 60,000 riyal after year 1. So year 2 onward is 60,000 riyal. These are some pictures of the space where you come to AstroLabs and you want to spend the first 3 months working there. You will get to be part of the community and deal with other companies and also get access to the market faster. And now we're happy if you have any questions. Try to make it kind of informative. Daniel will also join me to tackle any concerns or specific cases that you have to ask about.
Any questions?
So, this is so the company that you're proposing to register is going to be a local company, or
Yes.
so is it sort of the same as what we have in the UAE, or there's something else?
Yeah, so it's a 100% foreign-owned entity. So it's an onshore operation, so you're able to operate anywhere within the kingdom. So you retain 100% control of that company.
But for example, in the UAE, 100% is possible only within the free zone.
Yeah.
Whereas in LLC, you need to have 51% owned by someone else. Is that
Yeah.
the same, or there's
No.
something else?
It's different, so it's 100% foreign ownership of an onshore entity. Yeah,
Local company.
it's a local company. Yeah,
Local
onshore.
company owned 100% by the
Mother company. Yeah.
Oh,
So
it has to be owned by another company.
Yeah.
international company.
It's not like you can't go there as a new entity.
You can establish it as an LLC or a branch office of a mother company.
Okay.
So it has to be owned by a company and not an individual. So that's something you should bear in mind. If you have 2 entities here, for example, one LLC and one free zone entity, you'd generally want to set it up via a free zone entity, as that would by default own 100%. So that structure would be ideal for you in that circumstance. But you would have to obviously be able to provide audited financial statements for the last year in order to be able to do that. Yeah.
2 questions. You talked about operational system. What percentage of employees need to be Saudi?
It depends on the company size and the industry. Generally, it's between 20 to 30%. What we recommend to start the process, so in order to process for general manager's visa, you would have to hire a Saudi national, so you're instantly complying with Saudization. And then generally, once you get to that 6th employee, you just have to ensure that you are at that point.
So it's a percentage of
Employees.
It's not a percentage of the entire company; it's a percentage of people on the ground.
In Saudi.
In Saudi.
Yeah.
Okay, great. And second question is, if you do not have 1 year of financial statements, there's no way for you to go through this process through Saudi.
It's not really. It's not with the investor service license, at least.
Got it.
So you can't do a startup?
Not with this particular license. We do another license called the entrepreneur license, but it's becoming very difficult to actually go through that.
Different process
Yeah.
altogether. usually to get the initial approval from SAGIA and to present the business case and prove that the business is scalable, impactful. It's a completely different process.
And the activity requirements are different as well. So certain activities you're allowed to do with the investor license, whereas you're not with the entrepreneur license.
What about e-commerce there, if we want to start an e-commerce?
So as we alluded to earlier on, there's generally speaking no minimum capital requirements for the majority of activities. Now there are some, such as trading, which has a 30 million minimum capital requirement. And that's inclusive of import, export type activities. So what we generally do is we ask for your existing trade license. If there are any additional activities you may need beyond this, we'll discuss that as a team, and then we'll come back to you as to whether they're viable or not.
The company has to be like UAE based, or
No, it can be anywhere. As long as you're able to provide that audited financial statement, it can be anywhere.
So this is the trading sort of thing is a different process other than this.
It's the same process.
Yeah.
It just has capital requirement, which is a bit high. It's 30 million riyal for the moment. That's the regulation.
But basically with the minimum capital requirement, you have to deposit that within a bank account 90 days after CR issuance. So as we saw with some of these packages earlier on, it's done in 3 phases. So the CR is what we refer to where it's a 2 to 3 week process. So you get your commercial registration, the SAGIA license, the registration with the Chamber of Commerce. The whole process takes around 3 months, and the bank account can only be opened at the end of that process. So you basically got a kind of a ticking clock to actually deposit that capital within the bank account.
Right.
So we set the company up within 3 months, basically. But you are able to use that capital. It's not frozen. It's just relatively high for trading. So generally with these types of clients, they use a local service provider that can help them with the import-export type activities if they have that requirement.
For example, if you have a brand, if you have a company, like for example in India, and we are already, we are selling as a brand, we are selling many products that we are getting manufactured from, various units within the country. So if that company were to register, would that be considered trading, or it's another brand? We've got some products that we want to sell.
It depends if you're actually doing the trading activity in Saudi or not. If you need to import those products. So basically, what we would, what we'd,
not like media or tech or like software or something. It's like physical products. For example, we already in India we've got like decorative items, or lots of different silver items, decorative items. Got lots of different range of products that we are selling under our brand.
Yeah.
So if we were to come into Saudi and we want to do e-commerce as well as sell stuff, we have to import these products physically.
Yeah.
Would that be considered trading? Or?
Yeah.
Is there a way for you to be able to expedite this process? Let's say you're starting a company in the UAE.
Yeah.
You have a couple of months of traction in financial statements, not the full year, but you want to expand out into Saudi. What would the strategy then be? Would you try to go through with an entrepreneur license?
Generally, that would be what we would try to do. But with the entrepreneur license, we have to be super selective as to what types of companies we can support with that particular license.
What would
There's no benchmark per se. It's mainly around turnover. It's about your recruitment projections. There's a business plan template that we put together and we have to present to SAGIA. And then SAGIA is completely at SAGIA's discretion as to whether they approve that or not. That generally causes a bit of a bottleneck. Unless it's a company that is well funded, it can take weeks. So generally what we'd say is if you have audited financial statements for a year, go down that route, the investor license route.
Another thing to add here is that if the company or the startup has already secured fund from a VC, then it's an automatic approval by SAGIA.
So if we VC funded in the UAE, we'll automatically get approval from SAGIA regardless. We don't have to show them that you're audited financials.
Because conditioning that or given that VC already acknowledged or accredited by SAGIA, and it depends. That's why we can talk later on which VC, and they have a VC list of, they have like They covered almost all the VCs in the region. So it's a very kind of easy process. Once you secure the VC fund, then it's almost a guaranteed approval by SAGIA.
Okay, so that theoretically would shortcut the entire
Of
process,
course,
right?
yeah.
As long as you
But
have
you will
VC
then
funding.
take that
It's in-
entrepreneurial license.
Yeah.
You would, but you would still get approval.
Yes.
Okay, so
The
it's just not.
Yeah,
It
the
wouldn't be bottleneck, basically.
yeah, in terms of the approval, but the process as a whole is still going to be 3 months.
Yeah, right.
So it's just via approval. Yeah,
the
yeah.
concerns that you would have
Yeah.
would be alleviated at
Yeah.
that point, right? So
Yeah.
as long as you have VC funding,
Yeah.
that's all you really require.
As long as it's approved by SAGA, yes. For the entrepreneur license, this is regarding. So,
I have a question.
sure.
Okay, sorry. So if I had a license here through AstroLabs and I registered it in the UAE, so can I still use the offices or the co-working space in Riyadh,
Yep.
for example? Yeah?
Yeah, so this is one of the benefits of having the co-working space at Soft Landing. Even if you hadn't had access to this one, if you were here on business, you could always use Dubai, and vice versa, you can do the same in Saudi. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I will only have one license. What if I wanted to have two licenses? What's going to happen?
2 licenses for Saudi.
Yeah, like one
do you mean?
license in Saudi and one in the UAE.
Yeah, that's absolutely fine.
That's fine.
As long as you're able to provide those audited financial statements here, you can do that. A number of our clients are based in the UAE, and then they have the license in Saudi as well. Because generally, if you want to work with larger companies in Saudi or government, you have to be based in Saudi,
Yeah.
as in have a physical office.
Right. Okay.
So this sort of takes away from a little bit. I'm organising a roadshow for women-led businesses outside of East Africa that are looking at expanding into this region, either as a full-on business or looking at potential partners and so forth. Saudi is a space that I don't understand, but I know that there's good opportunity and so forth. So would there be an opportunity for us to discuss outside of this?
Yeah,
to
of
see
course.
maybe how we can set up a session for these women when we organize a roadshow?
Of course, yeah.
So is the SAGIA license, is that the preferred route, is that the route that you guys recommend to, is that like the easiest way to get into Saudi?
That's
The main,
only way.
yeah, exactly.
That's the only way?
In order to have 100% foreign ownership, that is the only way.
Okay. Got it. And the only way for new startups to get into it is that you have to get VC funding?
Not necessarily. It's subject to SAGIA approval of the business plan, but generally it should be funded by VCs ideally.
So
the very,
either convince them of the business plan
Yeah.
and they'll give you approval, or have a VC fund and that will expedite the process of approval. Got it. So we'll share our contacts if you guys have any questions. Happy to tackle them. Feel free to visit us as well here in AstroLabs, and if you come to Riyadh also. Thank you very much.
So much.
anytime.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for joining us.